Hello friends and welcome back to my channel. I'm Chelsea. You know that. I know that. I'm just a lady with a bulldog, a camera, and far too many opinions. And today, I know it's what a lot of you have been waiting for. We have opinions about the CEO of the fragrance subscription company, ScentBird.
Potato, eggplant, and bell peppers. Not only do they bring darkness into your aura, they have this uncanny ability to store it over time and accumulate that darkness over time, up to 7 years. So the potato that you consumed 7 years ago still lives in your aura today. And all of the darkness that it brought still lives in your auric field today.
Hey y'all, on my channel, we are not unfamiliar with unhinged people and their unhinged opinions. And let's be honest, it is really entertaining. That's why we're here. But unfortunately for some of us, we have people like that in our personal lives. And with it being an election year and misinformation running rampant, good old Uncle Reggie at Sunday family dinners is just out of control. I get it. But good news for your crazy Uncle Reggie, because today's sponsor... No, Reggie.
Great idea for the video. We go to the human waste factory and we look and see how Celsius is putting it in their drinks. You see that? They got, I saw it on TikToks. They put cyanide in human waste.
Reggie, what are you talking about? It's 11 a.m. on a Thursday. Why are you even here?
Walmart and I had a disagreement.
So you got fired from Walmart? What'd you do this time?
Threw out all the soup cans.
Because the government's putting 5G in the soup cans.
In the soup cans. You get it? Tell all them prescribers you got about those photos I told you about that I saw on Facebook.
You have got to stop following.
You got to tell them.
For AI photos that you see on Facebook. Tony, please take Uncle Reggie home or go get him out of here. Listen, it's too late for Uncle Reggie, but for the rest of us, there's Ground News, the sponsor of today's video. Ground News is my go-to news platform, developed by former female NASA engineer Harleen Kaur, to give readers an easy, data-driven way to keep up with the news. The app gathers related articles from thousands of sources around the world, allowing me to easily compare how different outlets cover the exact same story on the source of each publication. For instance, speaking of AI images, Trump, I would say tweeted, but it was on his Truth Social. He posted AI-generated pictures of Taylor Swift, insinuating or claiming that he had her support. It was quite goofy. Ground News found over 200 news outlets covering this story. 54 lean left, while 16% lean right, with the difference being center leaning. Below that, you can see the factuality breakdown, which of course is my favorite aspect of this, for the reporting outlets, as well as ownership, which obviously is very important. And for that story, over 40% of the reporting outlets are owned by a media conglomerate. And y'all know we love independent journalism over here. So put down your tinfoil hat. We don't need to use that yet. And go to ground.news/CC Suarez, or click the link in my description box today. And if you sign up through that link, then you'll receive 40% off of the Vantage plan, which is the plan that I use. And that gives you unlimited access to all of their amazing features. Many of you will recognize Maria Nerslamova as the CEO and founder of the popular fragrance subscription company, ScentBird. There's in her bio on ScentBird's website that she is from Russia. She spent 8 years professionally ballroom dancing, and that she is a speed reading coach. However, true passion is perfume. In 2013, she moved from Russia to New York City, where she started a scent blog and the company ScentBird. Sounds like quite an inspiring story of an entrepreneur, right? Well, not so fast, because obviously if that was the case, we wouldn't be here. In my opinion, at best, she's an absolute charlatan who's spouting out hateful rhetoric, disinformation, and cultish beliefs to suck the energy and money out of her followers. At worst, she actually believes these hateful beliefs that are quite dangerous to perpetuate and put out onto the internet. And all of these beliefs are revolving around an all-powerful person that she refers to as the architect. And the architect is the one who has designed the matrix that all of us live in and controls everything that happens in it. Now, before we get into her beliefs that Hitler wasn't a bad guy, yeah, she said that.
Evil is just a matter of perspective. What's good for one person is evil for another person. And by the way, like, look at Hitler. He's one of the poster children for like being an evil person. Do you know how many millions of souls benefited from learning from the experience that he has created? Well, do you want me to give you an even better example?
Yeah.
Do you think playing World of Warcraft is evil because you're killing things?
Like in a computer game?
Yeah.
People don't think it's evil, yes.
I know. Same logic. It's a computer game from higher self level. Like, fine. Like, I don't know, any of those RPG games, I think RPG is what they're called, right? Like where you like go and like murder, all kinds of beings.
Or that it's your fault if you get cancer and you can cure any disease in 7 days.
I'm going to say something really, really controversial. A big percentage of cancer on this planet, the reason that that disease has manifested and has really stuck through with humanity is because it is a byproduct of humanity pursuing false ideals. And people that get cancer, again, this is a generalization, but very often they're not aligned with their purpose. Either they know what their purpose is and they're not following it, or they don't know what their purpose is and that's why they're not following it. So actually the number one best cure for cancer, believe it or not. Now, this is not scientifically proven, but this is a spiritual channel. I believe that if people were to align with their life purpose, we would see a lot less cancer on planet Earth.
Or that she charges $125,000. Yes, $125,000. Or as she describes it, $125,000 in energy exchange. Is that monopoly money? No, it's real money. She just calls it that to make it sound like it's not real money, in my opinion. And what does that energy exchange get you? A 3-day one-on-one retreat with her that she has called the Hero's Retreat. So like I said, before we get into that, let's go over how she became the person she is today. Per an Inc.com article written by Maisie Devon, she, Mariah, grew up in a dilapidated industrial town called Berezniki, right next to an infamous prison that housed some of the most dangerous criminals in Russia. Her father, a biology professor, had been stationed by the government at the local university. Growing up there was tough. As the prisoners were released, they had nowhere to go and no money to support themselves. She would often return home from school to find her apartment burgled and stripped bare. And we aren't just talking electronics or jewelry. Everything down to the pots and pans, the food in the refrigerator, even the cutlery would have vanished during the day. Sounds like quite the hellhole to grow up in. So let's go ahead and take a little trip over to Russia and find out. Berezniki had a big problem that started in 1986. The town was formed around the potash mining industry, and it started experiencing sinkholes. Now, mines would be typically located a safe distance away from any residential or commercial area due to the risk of sinkholes, but in Berezniki, that is not the case. For the workers to have easy access to the mines, the worker camps, houses, schools, etc. are all within close proximity of those mines. Therefore, when a sinkhole appears, it can literally swallow up someone's house, crack the foundation of the town's school, or worse, and terrifying to think about, just swallow up people. In a move that is shocking, in a move that's quite shocking, even to those of us who don't have, chemistry degrees or smart, we're not smart like that. One of the mines was purposely flooded in order to prevent another sinkhole from happening. And why was that not a good move? Well, because potash, which is a common name given to a group of minerals and chemicals that contain potassium, which, like regular table salt, is water soluble. So if you dump a bunch of salt into a bowl and then pour water on top of it, the salt dissolves. Hence why the flooding of the mine didn't have the desired effect. And this obviously did affect everyone who lived there. Reports from the upwards of 130,000 people who lived in that area claim that they do want the government to move them to a safer location. And you might be thinking, talking about the owner of ScentBird, not sinkholes. What are you doing? Listen, if there's sinkholes involved, we gotta talk about it. They're fascinating, terrifying, so spooky. What's in there? I don't know. Is that just the earth? But the reason why we're bringing this up is because Mariah, per our research, does not mention that the town that she grew up in was basically a giant sinkhole. That's terrifying. Why would you not mention that? And during an interview with The Bell, the interviewer brought it up, and this was Mariah's response. As a business journalist, I know well about the city of Berezniki because there is an enterprise Uralkali there because of potassium mining. Voids and sinkholes formed there. There are famous photos, sinkholes in the ground, and there is a small house on the edge. When you lived there, did you feel quite good there, or did you dream of living somewhere else? And her response was, I've always had a lot of ambitions. However, when I lived in Berezniki, I rather wanted to win the Olympiad in English, Russian literature. Instead, she focused on the nearby prison. That prison is known as White Swan, and it is located in Solikamsk, Perm Krai, Russia. It is a maximum security supermax prison that is transitioned from housing political prisoners to common criminals to its current population of roughly 300 prisoners, but it can hold up to 926 with life sentences. Interestingly, Interestingly, there has never been a confirmed escape from White Swan. This Supermax prison is 12.6 miles away from Berezniki. Now, if you remember, claimed as the prisoners were released, they had nowhere to go and no money to support themselves. She would often run home from school to find her apartment burgled and stripped. Also, Masha is her nickname, or it seems like that's what she goes by, so we're just gonna call her that from now on, because I'm pretty positive I've been butchering the pronunciation of her name. Sorry. An interesting tidbit is that in 1999, White Swan was repurposed to house serious criminals serving life sentences, and unlike previous detainees, they were not expected to ever leave the facility. So who's getting released? And obviously that's why we mentioned that to date, there hasn't been a confirmed case of someone escaping. Obviously, it's Russia, so I'm sure we're not going to... I don't think the Russian government would release that information, but what do I know? I mean, we see how they handled Chernobyl, right? So let's do some simple math. Masha was born in 1987, and the prison stopped releasing inmates in 1999. So that means that potentially there were 12 years of Masha's life that there could have even possibly been inmates, or released inmates rather, burglaring her home in Berezniki. Also, if we're going to math some more, the White Swan prison is 12.6 miles away from Berezniki, where Masha grew up. And per a source on Reddit who grew up in Berezniki at the same time as Masha, there are 19 cities and towns that are less than 5 minutes away from the prison. Most of those are summer homes that aren't accessible during the winter. And due to inaccessibility, there aren't any permanent or year-round citizens living there. Even though these homes weren't occupied year-round, they're still targets for countless Russians who were out of work or being severely underpaid during an extremely difficult time that took place in the 1990s. And now here's a statement from the source that lived there at the same time as her. I lived in Berezniki as a kid in that mentioned period of time. I have also asked my parents. My family members did not face burglary at all. However, in the village near Berezniki, our summer house, dacha, was robbed a couple times during the winter time. Some of the metal items like sinks, fireplaces, etc. were stolen. For context, the whole period of the 90s was very difficult for ordinary people. You could work and not receive a salary for 6 months, for example. Massive layoffs were everywhere. Barter trade instead of money as a result of insane inflation and questionable policies of transition from planned economy to market-driven economy. There were a lot of stealing, burglaries, and crime in general, country-wise. So I don't think White Swan Prison really influenced the statistic dramatically. It was pretty much countrywide a difficult period where people were stealing just to be able to eat. A person from far east of Russia has just told me that they had roughly the same level as crime as I described. Also, surrounding the prison are businesses, apartments, and homes, literally surrounding it. So why would they walk 12.6 miles or get a ride 12.6 miles to another town and steal everything from a house there? Let me know in the comments below. Do you think I'm just being cynical, or do you think that she is trying to evoke emotion out of people who she's telling her rags to riches story to and trying to make it worse than it was, so to speak? In an article in Russia Beyond, Masha claims that while growing up, she loved to play with lipstick and empty perfume bottles. While the writer of that previous article took some creative liberties or just shortened Masha's childhood experience with perfume, the Ink article goes into more, or let's say different details. While her parents struggled to provide a normal life, Masha encountered trouble at school too. Her schoolmates teased her for her dark complexion, and there were times that she felt isolated. But the resilient Masha found solace in all things beauty, from lotion to lipstick to perfume. Her very first introduction came from her grandmother, who wore the Soviet fragrance Red Moscow, which is generously described as unpleasantly hefty. Red Moscow was okay, but Masha wanted to experience different scents. Luckily, she had an aunt Sveta, whose beauty and influence allowed her to occasionally travel to the West. To Masha's delight, Sveta would sneak back the most intoxicating perfumes straight from the lavish boutiques of Paris. Masha was enthralled by the sumptuous bottles that came in every color of the rainbow, embellished with silver and gold flecks, ribbons, and chains. She inhaled the frosty jasmine of Chanel No. 5, the fanciful florals of Joy Jean Pateau. Covering herself in these luxurious fragrances, she would float away from her bleak surroundings. Scents could transform the person she was, the way she felt about herself, instantly elevating her confidence and sense of self-worth. It was at that young age that she understood the power of perfume. Mariah was allegedly a victim of teasing or bullying due to her darker Tartars complexion. For reference, the Tartars is a Turkish ethnic group found across Eastern Europe and Asia. Per the 2010 census, Berezniki, Russians formed a majority in the city with a 90.87%, while Tartars, 3.16%, were the largest minority, followed by Ukrainians, 0.81%. While growing up, Masha admits that she did have trouble in school, but that she flourished as a ballroom dancer and a speed reading coach.
Scarier if after putting on the one show, I recklessly put my foot in the other one and discovered that I was teaming with hundreds of spiders. All the babies were in there. A whole, let's see, it's a goose geese, school of fish. What is group of spiders called? Oh, no, I remember a whole circle of spiders. That'd be the scariest thing ever. I love camping out in the woods or not even camping or even in the woods. You're sleeping in your backyard. I don't know. Maybe you like the great outdoors, but you just want to come home.
Strangely enough, we weren't able to find any proof, pictures, anything that can back up her claims of being a ballroom dancer. So that's interesting. And per our source, if it's this sporty ballroom dances, it won't be necessarily mentioned anywhere. If it was in Berezniki, it was some sort of after-class activities. Professional ballet dancers are going to Vaganova Academy in St. Petersburg or Moscow Choreographic Academy. Also, while looking into that, we weren't able to find any sources or confirmation of her claim that in 2010, she became the New York regional director of the IRIS organization, the largest and leading speed reading organization in the US. So that's a little suspicious. But to keep going and backtrack a few years, Masha, who claimed that she started tutoring children in English when she was only 12 years old, also claimed that she studied applied mathematics and computer science at Perm State University in Russia. And while some articles use very careful language claiming that she has a, quote, background and a degree from this university, according to Russia Beyond, she dropped out of school in Russia. As a child growing up in the city, close to the Ural Mountains, Masha loved to play with lipstick and empty bottles of perfume. Later, she studied at the computer science facility of Perm State Technical University, but dropped out to study marketing in New York. And then there's a slightly different retelling of her history from the Bell article. The interviewer asked, "Why didn't you graduate from the Polytechnic?" And Masha said, "I went to the US on an exchange program to New York. After 3 months, the program ended. I came back and told my mother, I don't want to study here anymore. I'll go to America. My mother was shocked, but sided with me. My dad was very much against it. He didn't want to talk to me for a month. Then it worked out." But let's hear from Masha herself.
I read that you're an applied mathematician, but by training, by education. Yes. And one of the things that I think is so interesting about you is really the right brain, left brain equation. Have you always had that?
I was originally very much into languages and literature, and that was kind of like what I wanted to study. Mm-hmm. Now, I grew up in Russia, and in Russia, humanities are kind of like, that's not where you make a career. You're supposed to be a mathematician or computer scientist. I don't know. It's just the culture. Mm-hmm. And so I remember being in 10th grade and I was excelling at math, but I really wanted to just, I don't know, be like a writer or something, which does not pay in Russia at all. I don't, you know.
And in the US.
And so my teacher at the time told me that she thought it would be a waste of my intellect to go into humanities, like humanitarian studies and study languages. And she's like, you have to go into math. And she had a lot of sway with me. She was a very wise woman that I looked up to a lot. And that's how I ended up going to college for mathematics and computer science. But of course, that part of my brain, which was the creative, the storytelling.
Now, is it possible for Masha to have been a professional ballroom dancer, the regional director of the IRIS organization, and that her family was quite frequently robbed of all of their belongings by freshly released inmates that were released from a prison 12 miles away, all before she moved to the United States at the fresh age of 21. Sure, a lot of us have lived many lives, so to speak, before turning 21. I have. Absolutely. But it is strange that we couldn't find actual credible sources to back up any of this information other than her own words. Now you might be thinking, girl, if you don't get to the point of ScentBird and the calamity of it all, be patient. Because on my channel, we definitely love to poke holes in the rags to riches stories that scammers and unethical business folk love to try to use to manipulate people in order to profit off of them. Come on. I'll remember when we were in our Jessie Lee Ward saga and she kept telling and retelling and changing the story of her rags to riches. I lived in a basement. I was poor. This is how I became a millionaire story. So after she studied at but did not graduate from Perham State University from 2004 to 2007, she then decided to move to the United States and she attended the CUNY School of Business, where she graduated with a bachelor's degree in marketing management in 2011. It appears that, in Masha's own words, she paid for college by waitressing and giving massages. Massages? Was she a trained masseuse? Nope. Of course not. In an interview with The Bell, Masha claimed that she taught herself how to give massages by watching YouTube videos for 10 minutes. This is where Masha dipped her toes into the business world. Per her LinkedIn bio, she was the COO of Nuve LLC in 2012, the co-founder of Beta Week in 2014, the CEO and co-founder of ScentBird from 2024 to present, and the CEO and co-founder of Deck of Scarlet and the CEO of Drift. But per an interview with CEW, she's the co-founder and CEO of ScentBird, a fragrance subscription service that allows consumers to date perfumes before marrying them. Under the ScentBird umbrella, she is currently running 4 other beauty brands: Confessions of a Rebel, a crowdsourced fragrance brand; Deck of Scarlet, a clean makeup brand; Good Habit, a clean skincare brand that protects against artificial blue light; and Sanctuary, a fragrance brand on a mission to save animals threatened with extinction. I loved ScentBird. I also really liked Drift as well. And I've tried Deck of Scarlet, and I really love the concept of ScentBird in general. It's why I was sponsored by them. Now, ScentBird does boast that they have over 800 fragrances that you can choose from and over 700,000 monthly subscribers. The cost for a monthly subscription is $16.95, formerly $14.95, and the ScentBird website also sells full fragrance bottles, candles, and more. Per an article in The Bell, the service operates in the US and claims 300,000 subscribers in annual revenue in the amount of $60 million. Now, if there's one thing that ScentBird has done very well, it's working with marketing companies that utilize influencers and our influence and work well with us. ScentBird has reportedly sponsored more than 2,000 influencers, and marketing companies have shared the following results. However, not everything is going smoothly with ScentBird, and it seems that they have garnered a not so great reputation due to not so great customer service. Then there are the reviews on the Better Business Bureau, where one complainant said, "This company is still charging my account even though I canceled over a month ago. They acknowledge that I canceled, but they don't know why they keep charging me. They think that there's another account with the same email address, and that's not the case. They just continue to change my card. They just continue to charge my card and don't send me anything, even though they're charging me." And one Reddit user said, "I've had a subscription to ScentBird since July 2022. On December 8th, I sent them an email to the only contact information that was on their website to cancel. I never received a response, so I tried to skip a month and was unable to do so. Silly me. I assumed that this meant that they had canceled my subscription. Today, they figured out how to email me again and told me that my February order was in the works. They also raised the prices without emailing me, as this time I was charged $43 instead of $36. I can't even dispute the charge until it posts because I used my debit card. I finally took it on Twitter, where they won't accept any messages, and so I sent them a message on Facebook. It says they usually respond within the hour, but I wouldn't be surprised if it was a bot because you can only chat with a bot on their website. I'm hoping they screw up and send my order anyway, but I bet they won't. But I bet when they don't get their money, they're real good about their cancellations. I liked the service but ran out of perfumes that I wanted to try." And there are so many more where those not so great reviews came from. And of course, there are good ones as well, but we wanted to highlight some of the issues that customers are experiencing and have been experiencing for years. Now we're going to get into the, in my opinion, most glorious and crazy aspect of this entire deep dive. As Masha has boasted, she is both a self-proclaimed successful businesswoman and an intuitive and spiritual teacher. She claims that she experienced a spiritual awakening in 2018 and describes this experience in her YouTube video titled "My Spiritual Awakening, How It All Began, Precursors, Hypnosis, My Book, My Podcast, Business."
prior to my awakening, which happened in the summer of 2018. So I was at the time living in Manhattan, running my startup. So here's what happened. I was watching a YouTube video one day, and there was this lady who talked about astral projection. And she started talking about the fact that when you're astral traveling, or when you're lucid, like when you're dreaming, people who are quote unquote average would just take the dream as it comes. Like you are just the participant in the dream just happens to you. But just as when you essentially awaken to the fact that you are more than your body, so to say, and you awaken to the fact how much power you actually wield, then what you can do inside of the dream is change your landscape, the dreamscape entirely. I was fascinated with the idea, and it stuck with me. And so my awakening actually happened unprompted when I was on vacation with my parents in Portugal, the summer of 2018, and it started via a dream. So I was in a dream, and it was a very creepy, like morbid looking castle, and I was alone inside, and it was pretty miserable looking. It had all these creepy paintings, and essentially I found myself in a place that I didn't want to be. And somehow I remembered in a dream, because like sometimes when you lucid dream, you awaken to the fact that you are in a dream, you're sleeping, but you're aware of the fact that you're dreaming inside of a dream. And that's what happened for me. And so I looked at this castle, and my normal go-to would have been to just run away or hide or try to escape the castle. But in that dream, I was like, no, I have power. I can, I'm sleeping. I can remodel this castle. So I started making these pink bubbles of energy in between my hands. Don't ask me why. And started throwing them at walls of the castle. And the moment that my pink bubble would collide with the wall of the castle would light up and like turn golden for a quick second. But then the pink bubble would disappear and go through a wall. And then I found myself in the middle of the same morbid, creepy castle. And so I was doing that for a while, like trying to throw pink balls at walls inside of a dreamscape until I see like my attention in a dream was directed to a window. So here I am sitting in this dark, crazy, creepy castle. And then I see a window, and the window was golden, and the light was coming through the window. And I hear a voice, and the voice tells me, Maria, you don't have the magic of the pink ray yet. Try using the gold one. But that voice, like God spoke to me. And so I started making these golden spheres in between my hands. Like when I made this like one large golden sphere, and I blasted it out, and then the entire castle changed in my dream. It was so beautiful. And I walked out of the castle. I was walking the grounds, and everything was pristine and beautiful and perfect, like a fairy tale castle, as opposed to, I don't know, the Count Dracula castle, which it was prior. And then I wake up in the morning, but the voice is still there. And the same voice that I see it as the voice of God, if you will, or I don't know, the voice of archangels. It was still in my ear, but it's like telepathic communication. I wasn't hearing an actual voice. It was a voice in my ear. And so that's how my clairaudience opened up. At the time, I had no idea what clairaudience even was, but I knew that voice was not me. It sounded male instead of my voice. My inner voice sounds female, actually. I don't know if you guys, have you ever paid attention to the gender of your inner voice? Try that, because, the more I now communicate with my guides, I really do notice, the different tempos of the voice, and are they male, female? Sometimes it's a kid that talks to you, sometimes like an elderly person. They really, the guides have really very different facets that they come through. And so that voice remained with me, and it started telling me things that were pretty interesting around the world of spirit. The voice told me that it was one of my spirit guides, and the message that was coming through was so clear. It was like a person was talking to me, only it was in my head. And I knew it wasn't my voice, because the things that the voice was telling me were either contrarian or somehow enlightening. Like they provided a new perspective for me. I don't know that now thinking back at it, was I surprised? I don't know that I was surprised. I was excited, because I think a part of me has always known that there's something bigger than what meets the eye. There's something not right with this reality. Like it's as if we're not using all of our faculties, all of the facets of what's available to us. And so when the voice showed up and remained, I wasn't terribly surprised. And then essentially the voice told me that, was meant to awaken, that I actually was a little bit late on my awakening process, that my guides were hoping to wake me up earlier. And so now they had to put me on a fast track towards who I was meant to become, towards my mission and why I showed up in the first place. And the voice promised me that I was going to be given the keys to a lot of knowledge and all of that. And then they told me essentially that to speed up my pace of awakening, I would have to give up alcohol. At the time, it's not like I was like a drunkard, but I would have wine a couple of times a week as a stress relief. I was in building startups. That's a stressful job. Essentially, I was like, oh God, give up wine. But then the voice told me that the same pace of awakening that I could get in 2 months of my life without drinking would equate to 2 years while drinking, or like while having wine. And for me, it was really, really easy. From there, I gave up on the spot. I haven't had a drop of alcohol since, and never looked back. And from there, some intense things started happening. So the voice told me everything that I possibly wanted to know about my immediate spirit family, like immediate soul family. There are 8 of us. So I literally, so that I think I already started channeling at the time. But the voice was speaking. I was just writing things down on my phone. Oh my God. So the first 2 weeks were very intense, and I'm really glad that I was on vacation for the vast majority of it, because what they needed to do, my guides, the higher powers, they needed to expand my light bodies. Information could start pouring in, and so I could start working with a number of my guides. And for 2 weeks, every night, I would feel, I would kind of be sleeping, but not. I would feel like my body was stretched in every direction like a piece of rubber, and then massive amounts of light were just like penetrating my body down, front, to the sides. It was like pretty intense, and like you wake up tired. You wake up like, oh my God, I know they were doing work on me. And then there was also some tuning up that started happening, like the voices. First it was one voice, and then it turned into voices, and I was able to receive multiple frequencies that were coming through. That was like kind of like the beginning of my journey. And then I started receiving messages for everybody around me and like information about them, which now I understand was, the early points of access to the Akashic records. And so because I was on vacation with my family, my poor parents received like a bunch of downloads from spirit that were coming through me, and I couldn't hold them back. I literally was starting telling my dad like why he was sick, et cetera, and all of these messages coming through from his higher self. And I don't know, my parents are very down to earth. I'm really, really grateful that they didn't disown me. I'm joking. They love me, but also for them, I'm pretty sure it was like a shock. Like you have your normal kid one day, and then she sees a dream, and then she wakes up in the morning like spewing freaking stuff from God, or so she says. So I'm pretty sure it was very interesting for my parents. But that was like the very beginning part of my journey, and I was getting downloads all the time. That was also when I started doing automatic writing. That's when you just ask the universe a question, your hand just writes down the answer. Loved that. That was really, really good. And that's how I learned a lot also about the other world. I later found out that the voice that I heard in my dream was the voice of my twin flame. So he was the one to help me through that awakening. I say he because he comes to me in a masculine form. Now we have switched forms upstairs. At one point I was identifying as more masculine. He was identifying as more feminine. Then we flipped. And because I share such a special bond with him, just like you guys all share a very special bond with your twin flame, he was able to get through to me before anybody else, just because of the amount of love he holds for me at soul level, as well as just the connection, the bridge that we have between the two of us. So very often we serve as catalysts for each other's awakening, when we go through this type of experience.
That's a lot to process. But we had to cover her spiritual awakening story before we could descend together into the dark realm of Masha's ridiculous, controversial, and dangerous beliefs, along with her penchant for spreading medical misinformation. Y'all know, nothing I love making videos more about than people spreading disinformation. And I am going to be using misinformation and disinformation interchangeably in this video because the thing is that there is a difference. Misinformation is when you think something's true and hey, it's not, but you thought it was true, so, oh, well, I was wrong, right? Disinformation is when you're purposefully spreading false information. But it's tricky, as it is with a lot of the scammers and unethical people that we cover on my channel. I think that she does believe these things are true. Sometimes the culty person, the culty cult leader, whoever, the individual, sometimes they're brainwashed themselves. Did you know that if you have crooked teeth, that means that you have ancestral karmic issues?
If you have teeth that are not very well aligned, now they may be perfectly white, there's a lot of misalignment. You're gonna have to watch which teeth are misaligned, but usually the teeth that are very even, like evenly located, this is a very cohesive lineage, meaning there are not a lot of fights within the lineage, not a lot of fights within the family. The family sticks very close together. They're rooting for each other and they're acting as one organism if the teeth are aligned. If your teeth are a little bit like, it's almost like they're twisted a little bit around their central axis and they don't perfectly like fit, meaning like if you need to align them, like use Invisalign or something, like where your teeth are not perfectly straight, that is usually the sign that the lineage has karmic issues or karmic knots. But usually lineages that are considered problematic would have teeth that are not perfectly aligned. People in the lineage with a lot of poverty, people in the lineage that experienced trouble with alcohol or smoking, people in the lineage that had trouble with, suicides. People in the lineage that had trouble around like the divorce and like leaving your partner and like leaving the children. All of those things would be signifiers of like karmic issues within the lineage. And very often those teeth are not going to be aligned.
Potatoes and tomatoes are destroying your aura.
There are products that when you consume, they bring light into your body. And then there are products that when you consume, they bring darkness into your body. Nightshades just happen to be the products that bring darkness into your body and darkness into your aura. Nightshades are products such as tomato, potato, eggplant, and bell peppers. Not only do they bring darkness into your aura, they have this uncanny ability to store it over time and accumulate that darkness over time. Up to 7 years. So the potato that you consumed 7 years ago still lives in your aura today. And all of the darkness that it brought still lives in your auric field today.
Don't sleep next to minors. Oh wait, I agree with that one. Oh, this is don't sleep next to mirrors. Yeah, don't sleep next to mirrors. She almost had me there for a second.
Mirrors are challenging. I would not recommend sleeping next to a large mirror. Not to fearmonger, because I mean, nothing is going to happen from the perspective as like, nothing is going to murder you. Like, no, absolutely freaking not. Like, no, that's not going to happen. But there are energetic entities out there. And not all of them are, shall we call it, benevolent. There are a lot of energetic entities that like feeding off of human energy, a ton. And if they got hungry and somehow got through to you, through the portal, they could feed off of you. Usually though, they need access to the face. So it's okay to have a small mirror in the bedroom, but just make sure that your face is not directly visible from the mirror. And if you need to cover the mirror, like let's say you are at a hotel or Airbnb and the mirror is positioned weird, either flip it if you can to the back for protection purposes, or just cover it with a sheet or like a blanket or something. And you're going to notice that you sleep better. You don't have weird, well, you may still have weird dreams, but at least these dreams are not going to be prompted by the entities coming out of the mirrors. If you are a sensitive being, you will definitely notice, like literally you can have an experiment of, trying to sleep next to a mirror. And like when you turn off the lights, you will feel, the presence, right? And then, cover the same mirror and like do the next night when the mirror is covered. And you're going to notice that there's no presence in the room.
Babies have to tap into their masculine resources and participate in the birthing process in order to be born.
That's why certain births take so long, is because it's like the baby, like the mother cannot do all the pushing. In other words, or the mother cannot do 100% of the work. The baby also has to participate in the birthing process. And if the baby is in a state of resistance, if the baby is in a state of fear, if the baby doesn't want to access their masculine energies, the birth process is going to take longer. That's why some women are in labor forever, and other women, it's a very, very quick. And it has, very often it has nothing to do with the female, but it has everything to do with the baby and their readiness to tap into their masculine resource.
Girl, right when my kid came out, he peed on me. So I guess that was just him tapping into his masculine resources. Once we enter the 5th dimensional plane, we are going to eat solar prana.
What's going to happen to food in 5th dimensional consciousness? Once we fully complete the transition to a 5th dimensional consciousness, what planet Earth is no longer going to be a vibrational match to is violence. Let me restate that. Once Earth transitions to a 5-dimensional plane, once we have completed it, no single species is going to eat another species on planet Earth. That means no parasites of any kind in 5D. That means no carnivores of any kind in 5D. That means no herbivores. So I am saying that in 5D, we're not going to eat animals or plants of any kind. What are we going to eat then? Isn't that $1 billion question? What do you think is left? Solar prana in particular, not any kind of prana. So the transition, the arc that we're going from is a meat-eating human right now that eventually is going to turn into a solar prana-eating species. That type of eating, that type of food consumption, if you will, is voluntary, meaning the sun voluntarily shares that with that humanoid species, and that humanoid species is able to absorb that prana with the entirety of their body.
Also known as sunshine. I ain't got a pocket full of sunshine. I ain't gonna whoa. So those are like some unhinged, just, wild ones. But it gets way worse, and trigger warning for everything. Everything. Are you triggered about anything? Guess what? You're about to be.
Where you see war, I see a healing process. I'll explain to you. If the person is bleeding, is that a good thing or a bad thing? A lot of you said it's a bad thing. I will tell you, it depends. If the person is going through surgery and they're bleeding because something had to be opened up by a very capable surgeon to extricate some type of blocker on a physical level, the person is bleeding. But is that a good thing for the person? Yes. Especially if the surgery goes well. You want that person to bleed during surgery if that's what it takes for that person to be fully healed and restored to their primal condition. Same thing with war. Sometimes war is necessary because the emotions that are brewing within humanity are of that frequency. And the only way they can be resolved is through an armed conflict. It doesn't mean I approve of war. But let's just say that I am not in opposition to war. And through understanding the cause and effect, you start taking war as conceptually very close to a surgery. So in the same way that I would never blame this concept of having a surgery or anybody choosing to undergo surgery or anybody needing surgery, no, I cannot defy war. I cannot put a black stamp on it and say there's no room for war on planet Earth. I will tell you though, would I like to see a whole other reality where there's no war on planet Earth, But the reason there's no war is because there's no underlying conflict that would create war in the first place. Where there are no festering emotions that need to be resolved in this seemingly non-kosher, bloody way. Yes, I would like to have that future. But I would have that future in the most authentic way. I would have authentically beautiful, harmonious energies and not fake harmonious, trying to hide something under the rug and pretend it's not there when everybody sees the pink elephant in the room. I hope that that helps explain.
How do you figure out what pattern is causing your chronic condition or illness? So all disease is stuck energy. So you're looking for the energy block. If it is a disease in a particular organ in your body, in the meditative state, what you want to do is drop into that organ in your body. And then the question you need to be asking yourself is, what is it that I'm not seeing? Or rather, what is it that I'm trying to suppress about this organ or about its energy? And what may start coming through could be very, very interesting. So you may start, essentially what you may do is imagine that disease as an object. Take that out of your body, place it in front of you so you can greet it, look at it, examine it, observe it. Very often, that object would represent a pattern. Sometimes you would see it as a part of yourself that you haven't been giving airtime, a part of you, an aspect of you that is suppressed. So disease is a suppression of a particular energy that you just don't allow to move through the system. So what you should be asking yourself is, what is it that I'm not seeing, right? And truly, you would be surprised how easy it is to just go into the organ and look at what's there that you refuse to see. Like, what object is there? What aspect of you is there? What part of you is there? And from there, seeing that aspect of yourself, acknowledging that it's there, thanking it for finally getting the message through to you, acknowledging the trauma and the pain that part of you may have gone through. But really, there's a lot of power in just seeing the suppressed part of you. That brings it to the surface so it can be healed, right? Again, what you're looking to do is, instead of bypassing a block in your energy, you face it head on. You greet it, you meet it, you give it room in your body. And that is the start of the healing.
Another type of fear would be, am I ready to be a mother? This is usually for first-time mothers, right? Like, am I ready to undergo through this traumatic experience or undergo this traumatic experience? Am I ready for what's to come? If, so all that discomfort, right, with the process, that deep-set worry that the baby is going to take something away from you, whether that is your beauty, whether that is your, life, so to say, right? Like your free time or whatever, like that worry that having a baby is inconvenient actually may cause you to miscarry. So many of you think you are in a loving relationship. So many of you think you're married to the right guy, and you may still miscarry for the reason that you're not meant to be with them. It happens all the time. It happens all the time because some people are fundamentally not good for you. Some partners are fundamentally not good for you. And so just because of that, your body may choose to miscarry a child. And it is actually not a slip of a tongue that I said choose to. Yes, our bodies choose to miscarry children. It's not an accident that happens. It's a choice, right? So understand that you're not a victim. In fact, you have selected it, right? And by the way, you don't always select at soul level. You very often, for miscarriage specifically, you select when you're already in the body. It's a free will based universe. Things happen. You make a choice, a spur of the moment decision. And it's so subconscious, you don't even register it. Like, you were thinking potentially that, no, you're good. You're on the track. You'll want the baby. But your body knows otherwise, because its energy doesn't lie. And your body reads all of these subconscious impulses extremely, extremely well.
I'm going to say something really, really controversial. A big percentage of cancer on this planet, the reason that that disease has manifested and has really stuck through with humanity is because it is a byproduct of humanity pursuing false ideals. And people that get cancer, again, this is a generalization, but very often they're not aligned with their purpose. Either they know what their purpose is and they're not following it, or they don't know what their purpose is and that's why they're not following it. So actually, the number one best cure for cancer, believe it or not, now this is not scientifically proven, but this is a spiritual channel. I believe that if people were to align with our life purpose, we would see a lot less cancer on planet Earth.
Subconsciously, when your body gains weight, it is, like I said, a coping mechanism, a protection mechanism, and it is serving a purpose. There is like an end game for this. It is not random, and it is not only because of your eating habits or your hereditary things that you got from your parents or whatever. It's not that, or it's not just that, shall we say. I would venture to say that one of the main reasons for gaining weight is mental and emotional and energetic, right? Or spiritual, if we would like to call it. And that is protecting yourself from the outside world. And then there is a massive, massive payback that you get from being quote unquote overweight. And that is a feeling of safety, a feeling of comfort, a feeling of not having to always be on guard and being able to actually function in society. That is your payback. So instead of demonizing this thing, let us accept that it is actually just a coping mechanism for you.
Do all health issues have a spiritual component to them? The answer is all health issues have an energetic component to them. So you have an energy body, which is your second layer after your physical body. And in fact, your energy body, or your etheric body as it is called, is a copy of your physical body, only energy-wise. So what every single organ in your body, physical organ, has a copycat of itself in the realm of energy. And so yes, every single thing that would be reflected in your physical body first starts at the level of energy. Now, when we say energy, what do we mean? It could start in your mental body. It could start in meaning with your thoughts. It could start with your emotions that you suppress. Every disease, though, is a blockage, an energetic block. So instead of the energy flowing, it's stuck in a particular organ or organ system within your body. So yes, absolutely 100% of your physical issues have an energetic counterpart and root cause.
If you're worried about being called crazy, fake, false prophet, cult leader, any of the fun things, right? Like that could also be a sign of the witch wound, right? But it was like, again, more of a teacher archetype at the time. If you feel like it's dangerous for you to do energy work, such as even practice meditations, right? Somehow you're like, okay, I don't know that I can meditate. There's something that's really sketchy about it. Or I don't know that I want to do this energy practices. Or even sometimes, even if it feels scary to you to open yourself up to spiritual content, that could be a sign of the witch wound. That's how deep it goes. And that's how deep it runs, right? Because, before you can become a quote unquote witch, you need to activate your gifts. And sometimes activating your gifts can come through a form of meditation, right? I don't know, like not, or for instance, some people awaken on, through a psychedelic experience. It happens, right? So like if you have a big fear of that, that could also be the witch wound.
Us versus them. Let's fight them. Let's expose them. Let us share with the world how bad the bad is and how evil the evil is. And let's all rise up. Let's all raise the arms and fight them. That is the holy war. And we are seeing a little bit of that right now, even in spirituality, where a lot of people, the moment they awaken, all of a sudden they go into conspiracy theories, because that is like that first layer in, and they join the warrior stance of, I'm going to fight this and I'm going to expose the cabal and everything else. I'm not saying that this is not the right path, right? It all depends on your vibrational resonance. But this is the interim path. This is not the end game. It's being at a level of existence that sometimes it makes sense to graduate from and look at the world from a different perspective with full acceptance and gratitude. Gratitude for, the way things are, because everything's a learning mechanism. And through experiencing darkness, so many people are going to choose their own light. Through experiencing evil, so many people are going to choose the goodness inside of them and going to lead by example. My dear one, I invite you to join me for a womb healing and restoration sacred circle that I will be hosting on June 8th online. We're going to gather together as women, and we're going to talk and heal the sacred womb space that we each individually have. As women, our lives are very unique. We have to go through a whole process of giving life and everything that entails. And with it comes a lot of trauma. As women, we also have to face things like painful periods, fertility issues, as women, it is very important for us how well defined and how healthy our relationship with our own mother is. Because every time we have a wounding around our relationship with our mom, it ends up as a stuck emotion inside of our womb space. I invite you to join me during this event where we're going to go into deep, deep healing work. We're going to go into a meditative healing experience, energy healing, where you're going to be faced with the flavor, if you will, or the facet of your own womb trauma and certain distortions that may have been there. Things like, okay, did you have a miscarriage? Did you have an abortion? Did you take any medication around your fertility, around your reproductive system? All of these things are still stuck inside of your womb space energetically, right? Like, so the babies that have not been birthed, they need to be released. The mother wound, whether you as a mother or you as a daughter, that also needs to be healed before you can be that whole being ready to take on the world. So I wholeheartedly invite you to my workshop, and I hope to see you there.
Brown-eyed people have a lot of stamina. That's why very often, if you know you're signing up for a life with a lot of physical labor, you would pick brown eyes also, because brown-eyed people have a lot of stamina. They have a higher than normal pain threshold. Like, you're able to not maintain, but tolerate a lot more pain than other people. So that's a great resource.
People with brown eyes have a higher tolerance for pain. Does she mean brown people? Professor Sophie Treywalter at the University of Virginia posted an article titled, "Black Americans are systematically undertreated for pain." In the article, she shares, racial disparities are particularly striking in pain treatment. Treywalter said, with studies showing that Black patients are significantly less likely to be prescribed pain medication, and they generally receive lower doses when they are. One possible reason for this, supported by existing studies, is that white people believe Black people experience pain less. Treywalter is attempting to uncover the root causes of this belief. To answer that question, we read a peer-reviewed medical journal article, Racial Bias in Pain Assessment and Treatment Recommendations, and False Beliefs About Biological Differences Between Blacks and White, in which the author points out that beliefs about biological differences between Blacks and White, beliefs dating back to slavery, are associated with the perception that Black people feel less pain than white people do, and with inadequate treatment recommendations for Black patients' pain. But how does Masha feel about people with blue eyes? As someone with blue eyes, I'm dying to know.
If you have been graced with a pair of blue eyes, a lot of extraterrestrials would have blue eyes. Blue-eyed people usually have an easier time opening up higher chakras. Very often they are, their throat center is extremely active. Their third eye is very active, and even their crown. So all of the three upper chakras. Blue-eyed people may feel more connected to God.
Not only is her take on people with brown eyes and blue eyes just spreading misinformation, but it also screams racism. The only thing different about people with blue eyes is we usually gotta wear sunglasses all the time. All the time. Overcast, sunglasses. These babies are sensitive. Guess why? Because apparently they let in more light. Is that correct? Maybe not, but I'll put it on screen if it is. I don't know. That's what my mom told me when I was little. And I can confidently tell you that I am not more connected to God than people with any other color eye. Here's another absolutely berserk idea Masha believes and openly shares. You create insulin, aka fat, in order to protect yourself from the outside world, and the root cause of being overweight is due to being hurt and having a victim mentality. What about her saying that being overweight isn't just to do with your genetics or, your eating habits, but it's a coping mechanism and leads to a feeling of safety and comfort? I mean, that's why it's called comfort food. What are you talking about? But also that would have to do with what you're eating. That doesn't make sense, lady.
Evil is just a matter of perspective. What's good for one person is evil for another person. And by the way, look at Hitler. He's one of the poster children for being an evil person. Do you know how many millions of souls benefited from learning from the experience that he has created? Well, do you want me to give you an even better example?
Yeah.
Do you think playing World of Warcraft is evil because you're killing things?
Like in a computer game?
Yeah.
People don't think it's evil, yes.
I know. Same logic. It's a computer game from higher self level. Fine. I don't know. Any of those RPG games, I think RPG is what they're called, right? Where you go and murder, all kinds of beings.
And multiple Reddit users have stated, "Yo is wild and I just can't even explain it. She sells herself as an enlightened spiritual guru and charges big money for energy healing courses." In her YouTube videos, she victim blames cancer patients and claims that they can heal themselves in days. But worse, she says murder and genocide is beneficial and needed to teach our higher selves. And so therefore, Hitler was not a bad dude. She also owns Confessions of a Rebel and Sanctuary, as well as some skincare and makeup brands. Now it is scammer time. Let's discuss Masha's mini courses, workshops, and retreats. In addition to putting out videos with a lot of misinformation, medical misinformation, hateful rhetoric, and much more, she also offers an assortment of courses, workshops, and her Heroes Retreat for $125,000. As we discussed briefly at the start of this video, Masha offers a one-on-one 3-day-long retreat called The Hero's Journey. For the low cost of $41,667 per day, here's a brief summary of what you will experience and gain through your time with Masha. You're going to explore the depths of your being, face your fears, emerge with wisdom that only a hero's journey can bestow. You'll go straight into the root cause of your issues, removing any disharmony present with your body. You'll address patterns, curses, and belief structures that may be in the way of your desired future outcomes. You get her undivided attention through the week. She helps people rewrite their mental and energetic codes, gently healing them at soul level. She uses light language, pressure points, energy infusion techniques, past life regression, channeling, guided meditation, and sometimes plant medicine to get you to experience deep healing. Oh, so it's ayahuasca. Got it. Now, if you can't afford that price range, don't worry, because she has some other offers as well, just like this online retreat for only $475 if you use the early bird pricing. And I 1,000,000,000% want to do that. So if you would like me to buy that and do a review on it, comment below, please. Y'all know I love doing that. On her website, it says that the transformation is a 2-day unique spiritual experience that you will co-create with your soul, a powerful team of spirit guides, and a wonderful community. And then it says this event is unscripted, which makes it seem like she just goes into it blind. That's crazy. And then she offers multiple different workshops as well for varying prices. The absolute medical misinformation in the womb healing and restoration is appalling, is disgusting. She's charging vulnerable women who have experienced these type of traumatic losses and charging them $125 for her bullshit. She has zero training in the medical field. She has, from what we know, zero training and education in therapy, and people should not be paying her for her to give them advice on anything really, but advice on medical conditions. She also has a workshop for writers called Pen and Purpose, Unleash Your Creative Vision, a writer's workshop for $333. Masha has written a grand total of 2 books, and neither of them were New York Times or USA Today bestsellers. Why would anyone pay for writing advice, or just pay anything at all, to someone who is so new at their craft? It's giving, I just joined a multi-level marketing company and now you should join under me so that you can be successful like me, but oh wait, I know I haven't made money yet, but I need to recruit you so that I can make money, you know? Now, should she be canceled, and should ScentBird be canceled? Cancel culture is quite controversial. I don't subscribe to the pitchfork mentality. I think that yes, people need to be held accountable for their actions, and that's really what cancel culture is. And that's really what like canceling is. You need to take accountability, acknowledge what you did, apologize for it, and then actually show, you know, that you are doing work to change and have those actions that are, you know, different, right? And obviously, yes, time needs to pass too. It's something that gradually happens. It doesn't immediately happen. But should people give someone like this and their company a second chance after, you know, the insane things that she has done and the dangerous things that she's done and monetized? I'm not going to tell you how to feel or what to do. Definitely, you know, have some discourse and assertive and logical conversations in the comment section below and let me know. I'd be very interested. I do think that at times people can acknowledge what they've done, learn, grow, and apologize and move past things and know better and do better. But at some point, if someone continuously shares hateful and dangerous rhetoric and medical misinformation, especially after being told it's incorrect and very harmful to share, then I do believe that cancellation is appropriate, especially if they're scamming, in my opinion, other people and vulnerable people and taking advantage of others and profiting off of that. That's not okay. Masha has not only spread false information, but medical information, and she's also, in my opinion, scamming people by selling them her courses, workshops, and these ridiculous retreats. Personally, I don't feel that it's appropriate, nor do I want to financially support Masha as an individual. And after this video, I will not be consuming any of her content, not that I ever did prior to researching this, but I will not be accepting any sponsorships from any of the companies that she owns. I actually, right after my contract, my long-term deal that I had with ScentBird and Drift, right when that was up, I told them I do not want to re-sign for another long-term deal with them. And then I didn't say why. And then my manager came back to me and was like, okay, well now Drift is offering you, $3,000 for just one integration. And I'm like, I would like $3,000. However, I can't do it. So, and not to be like all high and mighty and, on my ethical soapbox, because I'm not the standard when it comes to ethics at all. No, not at all. We watch pirated movies. We're not ethical in this household, but we're also not scammers and, a crazy shitbag like this lady, in my opinion. So I used to say prior to canceling and, making this video, I used to say that, yes, I have seen the crazy stuff about the ScentBird owner. I did still have my contract. I was planning on making a video, more recently, but then back like a year ago when all of this first started, when, she got on people's radar and they're like, oh my God, this lady's crazy. I justified it because I was saying in my head, well, it's not affecting the business. It's not affecting the way the business is run. So no, the business isn't unethical, but she did start it. She owns it. She has a huge hand in it. Supporting that is supporting her. And of course, there are going to be people who are like, oh, well, what about, Jeff Bezos and all that, right? I mean, I spend far too much on Amazon every month, but I do also understand that that is a little bit different, but it is kind of the same, but also not really. And let's be honest, there's no ethical consumption under capitalism. And I do live in a capitalistic society, right? So in this case though, Masha is ScentBird and ScentBird is her, right? So I will not be supporting them or any of the companies that she owns. A few months ago, I actually already threw out all of my ScentBird stuff. When we bought a new car, we were like transitioning everything from my car to the new one. I had like 4 or 5 in my car and threw them away. That would have been a little poetic ending to this video, but I'm not that organized. So let me know what your thoughts are in the comments below. If you do have any other suggestions for deep dive content, please do let me know in the comments below. I appreciate you so much. If you are subscribed, your butt looks so good. Your feelings are valuable. I hope you stay spicy, stay assertive, and know how valid you are. If you are not subscribed, that message was not for you and your butt does not look good. But if you want me to tell you that your butt looks good, go ahead and subscribe, like, and comment all those things, and I will see y'all in my next video.